Good morning, garden friends. It's Heather, Bush Poppy Farm. I'm out at the farm today. I was going to do a whole bunch of work out here today, but we are at the beginning, the first real day of a 5 to 6 day long heat wave. And so today it's going to reach, their projected high is 101, which is 38 Celsius. But it will probably be, I always find that the projected highs were always 2 to 3 degrees higher than that. So it could be 104, 105, which is what, 40 degrees Celsius? Not good to be out doing farm work. So what I'm here to do this morning before it gets too hot is just check on things, because it's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 days since I've been out here because I've been doing other stuff at home. Check on things and harvest, believe it or not, some of the few flowers that the deer haven't been eating, like the gomphrena, because I'm going to dry them and use them in my dried arrangements for the fall. So yeah, just some basic stuff. I just want to check on things. It's not looking good right now, y'all, because it's September 1st and this is, you know, the end of the summer gardening season. Let's do a really quick tour and I'll show you what's still here. Okay, so here's the corn patch. As you would expect, it looks like you would expect in August, September. We do have some pumpkins in here, which I'm not gonna harvest yet. They still have green stems. I'm gonna leave them as long as possible to see if they get any bigger. The buddleia is still doing great. This skyardia is happy. Pumpkins in there, you know, I don't know. We had some problems with the well, and there was literally no water getting to anything for about a week. So I'm sure that had an impact. However, you can see these guys just looking gorgeous, even through all the heat. They are heat lovers. So let's see, we've got this breath of heaven is happy right there. Still more pumpkins hiding. We've got some coreopsis here. These are the perennial beds. So you see all those rodent holes? This is why I want to get some barn cats out here, using our county's feral cat program. We got some happy lemon basil. That's so pretty. You know, got some cucumbers. I'm not going to eat these because the rats have been nibbling on them. But all the borage and stuff. Now, a lot of this stuff I'll come in and cut back once the season is truly over. But look at these nasturtium, which is the awesome thing about these nasturtium is they drop their seeds and they'll just continue to self-seed. So I won't really have to do anything in the next couple of years. I do have a lot of weeds in here. This guy, awful. Need to get that out. This guy, I can't tell you how they're so awful. You can't pick them up with gloves. I have to like dig them up and then pick them up with the like loppers because they're just so prickly. The hemlock has obviously gone crazy. All this needs to get pulled out. Salvia looking lovely. I love how it's spreading through here. This was exactly what I wanted, because the more we have things like this in here, the less we have weeds. Chamomile's dying back, but it was great. It itself seeds, so I'm sure we'll have more. Same thing with the borage. So it all just needs to get cut down with these zucchini plants. Still, I see some giant zucchinis in there, but of course the rats have been getting to them, so I'm not harvesting those, but it's kind of fun to see them. Marigolds coming back from the deer damage. This white borage, a second flush here. Rudbeckia looking good. Well, some of them. There's just, you know, a lot of weeding and stuff, and some of this can just wait because I'm not planting anything right now. Look at the size of some of these. And of course they've been eaten on, like I said, by the rats, so I'm just leaving them. Plus when they're this size, they're not tasty, but look at that guy. It's huge. So basil, and of course all the bees, happy bees. Look how the rats have been enjoying that. Look at that, yeah, so that's what happens when you don't come out to the farm for a week. Cosmos coming back there, yarrow, looking nice. I might harvest that and dry it. And of course the bees enjoying the water. And look at that. Those petunias came back even after they were yanked out of the ground and the deer took them. And it looks like this Jacob Klein Monarda is trying to come back too. So maybe they're not a total loss. Pretty good for a deer-infested field. This is Gomphrena and Ageratum and one sprig of Winged Everlasting. But all of this is going to get dried. I mean, it's too short for bouquets and stuff, but it's perfect for dried flowers because number one, they hold their color, like I said. Two, a lot of the dried arrangements I make are little posies, and so it doesn't matter if the stems are short. All right, it is already super hot out here. I mean, it's 9 a.m. and I'm like drenched in sweat. So I'm gonna head home, have some breakfast, and then see what else is on the agenda for today. Okay, so I'm back home, had some breakfast. It's shady in my backyard right now. So even though it's hot, I'm not in the direct sun. So I'm gonna get as much done as I can back here before the sun comes out because we are having friends over this weekend. And things are looking rough back here because, you know, it's the end of the summer and it's hot. So I want to clean some things up, especially these green stalks, because I do have things I want to transplant once the heat wave is over into the green stalks. Speaking of green stalks, if you are watching this for the Labor Day weekend, Greenstock is having their Labor Day sale. So go check out, I'll put a link in the show notes below in the description box. Go check them out because you can get a discount on green stalks. And again, these are excellent for, you know, small spaces. I can grow a ton of food in a very tiny space here on my back patio and move them around. They're on wheels, so I can move them around. In the wintertime, if they need more sun, I can move them to a place that has more sun. It's just really cool. Right now, I am watering the green stalk. This is the only place you have to water. I'm filling it until I see water come out the bottom hose. If you saw my green stalk video before, there is a tube that runs down the middle and fills reservoirs above each tier, and then each tier has drip holes in it so that each pocket gets water. It's a really cool system and it works really well. Something kind of cool I want to show you. Strawberry plants only live for about 2 to 3 years. I mean, they can live longer than that, but they're really only productive for about 2 to 3 years. So you'll notice in your strawberry patch that some of the plants start to die off. But what they also do every year is throw out these runners. At the along the runner, there are these nodes. This is a whole new strawberry plant here. Same with right here. So you can propagate in your garden with, I think it's called air layering. I have a strawberry plant that has died right here because it was old. I'm going to pull that out, and in its place, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to plant this. I'm going to set it on the surface of the soil and use a landscape pin and pin it down so that it's touching the surface. That will root in by itself, and then I can come along and cut it away from the mother plant, which is actually right next to it. So it's a good way of multiplying your stock of strawberries without ever having to buy more. So all you have to do is just keep up with it. Make sure you replace the ones that are on their way out with new runners, and you'll be good to go. So I'm feeling like these are looking a lot better. This one is a little, you know, kind of looking a little bare, but that's okay. I've got plants growing for it in the greenhouse, but it's gonna be too hot for transplanting anytime soon. So those guys are just gonna stay like that, and the strawberries are gonna keep producing. They overwinter just fine in these green stalks. The green stalks also, for those of you in much colder climates, come with a frost blanket that fits over the whole thing. So there's really no reason why you can't use one. If you saw me cutting away really hard at some of these herbs, that's because they had kind of gotten too woody to really be producing much. So I have new ones ready to go into some of these pockets. Next project is this, still is, but just not blooming right now, black and white garden. So these are black petunias, and there are white flowers here, and I can't even remember what I planted. But basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in and deadhead and do a little trimming to encourage another flush of growth. These guys will literally overwinter for me and keep producing. So I'm gonna keep them in here as long as possible. Here's one blooming right there. I just love these. Black, black, black. They're so beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna get started on this. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. All I really did was deadhead. This is supposedly a self-deadheading plant, meaning it just pushes out the old dead stuff and new blooms come in, but I find that they like to hang around, and it just makes the plant look dirty and messy. So we'll continue to have new blooms coming in throughout the rest of the season. Next project. This is Rudbeckia. You guys have seen this many times. As a reminder, or if you didn't catch how this came to be, this container I used to grow annuals in, and then last year when I was cleaning up the front garden in preparation for fall planting, there was some Rudbeckia plants growing really well up there, and I thought, well, I didn't really want to get rid of them, but I also was like, I'm not going to leave them here because I needed the space. So what I did was yanked them up, literally. I wasn't even gentle with them. I yanked them up, tossed them in a bucket, brought them back here, and popped them, literally popped them, I was not careful at all, into this container that at the time was completely empty. And I thought, well, if they live, they live. If they don't, they don't. And they looked awful for the first like couple of months, but then they went crazy and they gave me tons of blooms this summer. And Rudbeckia is this in my zone, this Rudbeckia, this is Rudbeckia hirta, is perennial. This one I believe is Prairie Sun. This one, Cherokee Sunset maybe? Anyway, so I had lots of folks cut on it when we did our workshops out here, and it just keeps producing. So I'm cutting it back now just to get rid of the dead stuff, and then I'll do a really hard prune of it in the early spring to set it up for a whole new season of production, because this guy will just keep going for me. At this point though, I just want to make it not look like everything's dead on the plant. Okay, I could save the seeds for this but I'm not really going to bother because I have loads of Rudbeckia seeds saved from previous things, and I don't plan on growing more, so we're just going to leave it at that. These containers, I have 2 of them, are multi-purpose all the time. So in the fall, I plant them with hundreds of tulips, and then we have a very high impact show in the spring. And then when the tulips are done, I pull them out and I put in summer annuals. And this year I went with a dark and white theme. This is Chocolate Cosmos, and as you can see, I mean, it was blooming like crazy before, but it needs to be cut back, and it'll just give me another flush until the frost. And then these are just white petunias, and then I had some sweet potato vine in here as well. So it was a nice combination, but it's all overgrown. I'm just going to trim it back so that it looks nice again, or at least tidy, more like tidy. There is a coleus hiding out in here. This is, I think, what is it? The witch something or other. If I think of it and I find it, I can put it on the screen for you. But yeah, I just want to make it tidy. These Chocolate Cosmos are actually perennial cosmos. So I am saving seed for these. I'm going to put them all through the cottage garden because I just love them, and they will self-sow everywhere. So I'm going to save the seed heads of these so that I can plant them out in the cottage garden in the spring. This is not a fast job because if I want to dead heads that I still have blooms coming up in the fall, I can't just do a top shear because there's lots of new blooms in here and I would cut them right off. So I gotta kind of almost go one at a time. Okay, I feel like that haircut helped a lot. It just looks mostly green now instead of lots of dead black things. But there are tons of new blooms all through here. So this will flush again just in a matter of days. These will all bloom. So maybe by the time our party happens on Monday, it will be all full of Chocolate Cosmos. Now, this one was actually planted up the identical way. However, this is a dahlia. Now, this dahlia is absolutely rogue. Years ago, I planted dahlias in here, and it was just one tuber. And of course, as you know, dahlia tubers expand. Well, in the fall, when I went to plant all my tulips, I dug them all up. I dug down a good almost foot into this and replaced the soil and thought I got all the tubers, but apparently not, because every year this dahlia comes back. However, it never gives me flowers. It's just really weird. So all it gives me is vegetative growth. I got a single flower this year and I never even really got to see it. It was very nondescript. So this whole pot, there's not a whole lot I can do with it because, you know, I can cut it back, but it's not going to give me another flush. It's not going to look good. So I think I'm just going to, you know, trim off some of the dead head stuff over here and then just kind of leave it because I will, like I said, like I always say, I'll leave something in here that's green until it's time to pull it all out and put the tulips in, because that'll continue to feed the soil. And in a container, that's really important because, you know, containers don't have, you know, a way to reach into native soil to get nutrients. And so I'll just keep this going until the end of the season, when I plant in probably late October, early November, put all the tulips in there, and then we'll be good to go. But again, I'll try to dig up this, this crazy dahlia. I mean, if it flowered, I'd be happy, but it doesn't. It just gives me vegetative growth, which it's not bad to have a bunch of green, but it makes it impossible for me to match the two containers because this takes over. So I may have to do a complete emptying out of this pot and like all new soil to fix that problem. So we'll see. What about this crazy collection over here? Well, this ponytail palm I put here, not really intending for it to stay. It's just been there all summer. Needs to get cleaned up, you know, take off all the dead stuff. The hydrangea, this is a Fire Island hydrangea. The blooms when they come out are bright red. They're amazing. They're beautiful. I let all of these age on the plant, and then this fall I will cut them off and use them in dried bouquets. The reason I'm not cutting them off now is that if I do a hard prune on this right now, cutting off these flowers, then it will start to put on some growth because we're still in heat, and I don't want it to put on a bunch of growth right before the winter because this thing dies back completely in the winter. Again, a reminder for hydrangeas. This is a hydrangea macrophylla. It blooms on old wood. So this flower is on a stem that it grew last year. These stems that don't have flowers are new this year. They will carry flowers next year. So you gotta be really careful when you're pruning your hydrangeas. You gotta know what variety it is so that you know how to prune it and you don't forfeit. Because if I cut off everything, then I won't have any blooms next year because I'm cutting off the stems that are gonna carry those blooms. This container, I'm just going to leave it as it is. It's a little crazy. I haven't even transplanted anything in it this year. This is jasmine going up this trellis, and it's getting thicker and thicker, so I like it. I'm just going to keep letting it grow. And those pansies have been in there, or petunias, whatever they are, have been, or maybe they're violas. Anyway, pansies. They've been in there since last November, so I'm just going to leave them. Over here, first of all, the hydrangeas that we planted are doing great. Now these are limelight hydrangeas. They are panicle hydrangeas. These guys grow on new wood. They bloom on new wood. So for instance, this one here, it looks kind of ragged because, you know, I cut on it for dried flowers, for fresh flowers all year. These I'm leaving on because I'm going to turn them into dried flowers. So they get a patina on them. They go from this, you know, the white to this kind of greenish pinkish color. It's really pretty. Anyway, so with panicle hydrangeas like the limelights, I come in the fall and I'll cut every stick down. It'll just be sticks in here. I'll cut them all back to about here. So like this is going to be kind of like my guidepost. And then what that does, because these bloom on new wood, all the new stems that it puts out next year will be, camera is overheating, so it cut out on me. All I was going to say is that those panicle hydrangeas bloom on new wood. So you can cut everything back to about, I don't know, 12, 18 inches off the ground, and then it will all give you new flowers in the spring, so it's summer. So you just have to make sure you know what kind of hydrangea you have. Okay, it's hot, the camera's overheating, my battery's dying, it's time to go. I hope you guys have a wonderful time in your garden. Thanks for joining me today. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.